Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for the 17th of December, 1983. We will be, in fact, finishing 1983 today, which is kind of cool. I'm excited by that because I get to watch 84, which I haven't seen before. So that's pretty interesting. Anyway, we start with Crusher Darso and Coco Ware. Coco Ware, of course, Coco Beware of WWE Hall of Fame, Nature, Memphis, and all of that. Coco Ware and Crusher Darso, an interesting team. Darso, obviously, an interesting pair of combatants. Coco obviously uses his speed. Darso pretty well jumps on him and goes right to attack. Big back body drop after a body slam. And, of course, Nikolai Volkov is there with his for I guess new teammate, for lack of a better term. Big toss into a gun stun type maneuver by Darsaw, and he chokes the man up, hurts him up pretty big, and goes at him pretty well. We then see Darsaw get the over the shoulder backbreaker maneuver and a submission from his adversary. Mr. Wrestling 2 against Jim Neidhart. Interesting combination here. Wrestling 2 obviously better on the mat than Neidhart would be, although Neidhart should be a little better being trained by Stu Hart after all, but I've never really seen much mat wrestling out of Jim Neidhart. Maybe he wasn't taught to him, maybe he just didn't pick it up well anyway. Regardless, takedown and an arm lock by Wrestling 2. He stays on the arm of Neidhart for quite a bit here. And kind of we see almost a rear naked choke attempt by Neidhart. Doesn't get what he wants on it, but gets enough. And 2 comes up with holding onto the leg, gets the leg pretty aggressively, assertively. And 2 comes back to his feet, works the arm for a bit, and ultimately kind of cranks the arm over. And we see a shot on the arm, kind of cravatting it and whatnot into an arm bar. Wrestling 2 works the arm bar for the next several minutes, and then we sorry about that. And then we see Neidhart with a switch, and he's working the arm. Super basic match, but it's all it needs to be for, a Christmas area show with very little build, about a week before Christmas here. And of course, within the next couple of weeks are lesser shows because of the holiday season, as we still see today, 37 years later. Anyway, Neidhart tries to slam his adversary. Doesn't work very well for him. Referee was knocked out in the middle of the match. We see Butch Reed do a run-in while the referee is knocked out. And Wrestling 2 gets blasted by Butch Reed right in the face. And eventually we see Magnum TA run down to save his coach. And they embrace. There is a belly-to-belly suplex by TA, and it's a good deal. Randy Barber and George Weingroff against the Midnight Express is up next. Obviously, Weingroff and everything involved there, pretty big deal. Cornette still being Jim Cornette, a very young Jim Cornette, mind you. Good tag team match by Eaton and Condrey. And obviously, they are still, the Midnight Express, still finding themselves. Going to be really excited to see their run with the Midnight Express in this area. The tag team division really needs it. I mean, when Reed and Neidhart are your tag team champions, that's not the best of situations. Anyway, I think it is Weingroff who hits quite a few hip tosses on the adversaries, and then we see a back suplex from Dennis Condrey. Bobby Eaton breaks the match down pretty simply, and again, big body slam there, and kind of a toss over. Eaton comes back in, hits a back elbow among other things, and then we see Eaton with a kind of hammer double team backbreaker with the top or second rope hammer thrust, and a victory for the Midnight Express. Junkyard Dog King Carl Fergie is up next. I don't understand the Carl Fergie thing. I'll get to why in a minute. Well, very basic. Jerry the King Lawler, the actual king of Memphis wrestling, is here in the next segment. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense that Fergie, who, yes, is Lawler's cousin, mind you, but would be allowed to do the king gimmick right before Jerry Lawler. Just doesn't make sense to me. Several shots by the dog with a clothesline. Dog pretty aggressive and assertive here, using several clotheslines and some punches and headbutts. Very one-sided match, actually, but that is to be expected. We eventually do see the dog kind of pull his man up a little bit and go for the thump slam after Fergie holds him in a front chancery for a bit, but the thump slam does lead the dog to the victory, and that is a good thing for, I guess, fans of the Junkyard Dog. Oddly enough, we move on to, as mentioned, the match with Jerry the King Lawler, and relatively rotund, or larger anyway, enhancement talent Larry Higgins. Higgins is a guy who, truthfully, has been showing a bit of gumption as of late. Maybe not winning matches, but Jerry Lawler coming to town, kind of a big thing. He comes with the big crown, and maybe they're trying to get him over as being bigger than he is. I don't really know what the role is here. We don't see Jerry Lawler for the rest of January, so maybe he's just passing through the area and picked up a dance for TV. I don't know enough about 84 to really speculate as to what that looks like. I know that Lawler doesn't leave Memphis for a regular basis, except for maybe Florida a little while. But Lawler even hits a drop kick here on Higgins. Higgins goes rolling out to the floor. That is a surprise because it's rare to see Jerry Lawler leave his feet. Lawler with a hip throw, hip toss type maneuver, and a big backdrop. Lawler is cleaning house, and the fans seem to have at least some knowledge of who Jerry Lawler is. Their reactions to him seem to indicate as such. Hard shots by Lawler. Lawler does the outside in spot, pulling the man in, and then Lawler manages to hit the second rope fist drop and get a victory here. Again, odd to see Jerry Lawler in this type of position. It doesn't really serve him well unless he's going to be here more, and I don't know it because I haven't gotten to 1984 yet. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov, kind of your, I guess what you'd say is a main match for the week. And this program runs about 2 or 3 minutes short, running in at about 39.5 minutes, which is kind of weird. And also weird is that we see a enhancement talent tag match to close the show. Anyway, Duggan goes right at Volkov and hits a few back elbows. Pretty aggressive by Duggan. Duggan, who at this particular juncture gets caught with a kick from Volkov. Volkov does as much cheating as he possibly can, catches the man under the chin, and manages to catch a, bear hug and the like, and ultimately, we see some difficulties there, as the match breaks down into being a very slow, plodding affair. When these two guys are trading bear hugs, Duggan comes up with punches, and they go toe-to-toe for a while. This is not going to be the 5-star classic that a nerd like Dave Meltzer would like, but it served its purpose. Shoulder tackles in the corner by Duggan, and Duggan does have the crowd in the palm of his hands. Again, he's kind of had, been here for a couple of years by this point almost, and the crowd, obviously the USA versus Russia thing, a big deal to them in 1983, and seeing Duggan dominant over a guy like Volkov makes them happy. Duggan hits a big clothesline and then goes off the ropes, goes for the big spear, but does not hit it. Meanwhile, We see Crusher Khrushchev interfering and causing Duggan to get, Khrushchev, Darso rather, picks him up and does the backbreaker on the outside, sends it back into the press slam backbreaker of Nikolai Volkov, and Duggan barely manages to kick out the back door on that one. And then we kind of see a miscue, and Duggan throws weapons into the ring. Duggan goes for the shoulder tackle, and basically we get a disqualification because Darso makes his way into the ring. Rick Rude and Lanny Poffo, interesting tag team, versus Doug Vines and Tom Letts. And I mean, it's not the best match ever, but Rude and Poffo, an interesting team here, and they're given about 6 minutes to close out the program. Not that they use it all. Rude looks extremely thin compared to what most people would know him as, and Letts doesn't end up very well. Rude manages to hold the arm for a couple of minutes, a couple of arm drags and the like. Vines tags in, and Rude and Poffo kind of try to cut the ring off a little bit. They have not really found a role for Poffo, and I don't imagine he's here terribly too much longer. Maybe another 6 months maximum. But anyway, Poffo manages to get some arm ringers, and then Rude tags back in, does the double axe handle from the top, and then Letts comes back in, back elbow. Letts looks like $1,000,000, but he doesn't really come together to win a bunch. Anyway, we see him cranking down on the, I guess you'd say head scissors for lack of, or front face lock, and then tag back to Vines. Vines doesn't want to waste too much time. He's staying on his adversary there. Poffo comes back in, hits the elbow to the back of the neck of Vines, then lights him up a couple of times, hits a drop kick on Letts just for good measure, and a rolling head scissors by Poffo. Poffo does have a lot of interesting maneuvers and does the rolling splits, among other things, to get things going in his general direction. Cut off of the ring once again. Letts and Vines, sounds like a law firm. Anyway, they take over. Letts comes back in. Vines comes back in. Basically, a lot of free tags and such here. Double teamed by Rude and Lanny Poffo. Double backdrop on Letts and double drop kick. They send him to the outside. Vines comes back in. He gets fed for the double clothesline. Takes a tremendous bump. And then we see a crossbody. 1, 2, 3. And a victory for the team of Poffo and Rude. Closing the program for today. We'll be back with, I believe, the Christmas Eve edition of Mid-South 1983 right after this.